All right, ladies and gentlemen. So New York's been going crazy. The NYPD office is it's looking terrible out there. It's looking real terrible. So we got a NYPD chief who resigned from his position because he was accused of paying a woman over $260,000 in overtime. And apparently it's because of sexual favors. So we reviewed this not too long ago, and finally we hear a statement from the actual police commissioner, police chief, and he is saying that he denies all allegations that are put against him, and that the sex that they were having, the sexual misconduct, was actually it was justified. It was not misconduct. It was what's the word for it? Consensual. It was consensual. Let's tune into the video, see what's going on out here in these streets.
A sex for overtime scheme with a subordinate, and now he is speaking alongside his attorney right now. Let's listen in.
Is it muted?
Stuff we can't tell you because we are anticipating litigation in the civil context, but there is a lot we want to tell you to set the record straight, because there's a lot out there in the media that is just not correct or is only telling half of the story, and that's why we called this press conference. So thank you for being here so that we can set the record straight as best we can. Jeff Maddrey started off in the NYPD as a traffic agent. In his over 34 years with the NYPD, he worked himself up from traffic agent to police officer to sergeant to lieutenant, all the way up to the highest ranking uniformed member of the NYPD, chief of department. That was about 2 years ago. He's credited for saving this city during the George Floyd riots. In the last 2 years as chief of department, he's driven down violent crimes, shootings, homicides through his work in supervising the operations of the approximately 33,500 uniformed police personnel of this city. He's a beloved member of every community he served, community he lives in, and if you ask any cop, they'll tell you he's a cop's cop. Last Friday, December 20th, there was a complaint filed in the Office of Employment Opportunities setting forth certain allegations by a Lieutenant Quatisha Epps against Chief Maddrey. Those allegations included sexual abuse, taking advantage of her fragile situation, and using overtime to pay for sexual favors. We can tell you now, those allegations are a lie. They're not true. We deny every aspect of them. We'll tell you right now that Lieutenant Epps, since October of this year, has been under investigation by the Internal Affairs Bureau of the NYPD for putting in for overtime she never completed.
Then the plot thickens. So it was all a lie. That's what he's saying. That's what they're saying, allegedly. Obviously, the facts will come in, but $400,000 a year as a police officer, front desk police officer, is what she was getting paid. $400,000 a year. $400,000 a year is what she was getting paid. Like I said, her base salary was 160 something, and now on top of the 200 plus overtime hours, she was getting paid over $400,000. That's ridiculous as a front desk police officer. That's ridiculous as a regular police officer. I'll be honest with you. She got paid more than she got paid her regular salary in overtime. So I could see where the fraud could be coming. I could see. And I was saying this in the other video that I reviewed of this. She should be locked up too if it was misconduct on that type of level. And she was accepting overtime for sexual pleasures. She should be getting fired at the same time. But now we're hearing she was not even doing all of that. She was just filling in her timesheet without actually being there on the job. Crazy.
So she's under investigation for stealing time and putting in for overtime that she never worked.
I wonder why she retired.
Now, Lieutenant Epps got caught with her hand in the cookie jar and is trying to deflect her wrongdoing by making these allegations against Chief Maddrey in the hopes that she'll get away with part or all of her scheme. However, the truth is, Lieutenant Epps had a consensual adult relationship, albeit for a short time, with Jeff. And we have tons of evidence by way of text messages, photographs, videos, phone records, and X-rated and racy videos and photographs from Lieutenant Epps, who is a self-professed swinger. And we have all this evidence because she sent it to Chief Maddrey in her attempts to have him begin a relationship with her.
Wow.
Now, going to the overtime aspect of this case, we want to set the record straight so that everyone understands how overtime works in the NYPD. There is a system of checks and balances in place so that overtime can't be stolen. But let me tell you right now, Chief Maddrey is not a part of that checks and balance system. Chief Maddrey manages the day-to-day operations of 33,500 police officers in their fight on crime. Okay? Now, when a police officer or a member of the NYPD puts in for overtime, they have to fill out what's called a slip. That slip has to be signed by a supervisor. That supervisor is never a chief. There are people within chiefs' offices who are tasked with making sure that slips are appropriate and have to be approved. And that's where you see the bottom where they sign it. And here is the back of it, where a commanding officer has to approve it. Jeff had a commanding officer of the chief of department's office. He is not the commanding officer. Okay? Jeff never approves, assigns, or gives overtime. Lots of people in the chief of department's office made overtime because they legitimately worked it. In fact, last year, there were 415 members of the NYPD that made over $100,000 in overtime.
Yeah, he's saying that like that's a good thing. That's a lot of money. That's 415 people getting hold on. If my math is not mathing, ain't that 4 million? Hold on. $41 million in overtime. That's a lot of money, bruh. That's a lot of money. $41 million in 1 year in overtime throughout 400 people. That's insane.
Okay. If there is an issue with how that's billed or approved,
bro. This is crazy.
that's not Jeff's responsibility. Now, Lieutenant Epps in 2023 made about $200,000 in overtime. And she knew she was being investigated. She applied to retire on December 16th.
Oh, yeah.
That same day, she attended the chief of department's Christmas party along with 40 of her colleagues, where she was smiling and thanking everyone for the cordial, congenial work environment they had.
Wow. Wow.
She even texted that night to the chief her gratitude. 2 days later, the Internal Affairs Bureau, we believe, suspended her for the issue with her overtime, which the decision to suspend her had nothing to do with Chief Maddrey. He didn't have a hand in it or a decision. And now she claims she was suspended in retaliation for a complaint. But guess what? The complaint was 2 days later. So I'm not sure what complaint she's referring to. But he had nothing to do with her suspension. And we know that her suspension for improperly putting in for overtime predates any allegations that she has against the chief. We know she's being investigated for January, February, March, April, May of 2023. Her allegations start in June. So even though she claims retaliation for a complaint, she filed a complaint on December 20th. And it was co-signed by the same lawyer who in the past has unsuccessfully sued Jeff for a plaintiff named Tabitha Foster. Halfway through the Tabitha Foster case, Attorney Sanders ditched his client and ran for the hills. She got other attorneys, but that case was dismissed, and she now has to pay costs for bringing her meritless case. Perhaps that lawyer had something to do with Lieutenant Epps' sudden about face. I don't know, but time will tell, because we are prepared to litigate every issue. Now, for those of you who've seen in the media that Jeff somehow was banished to Georgia by his wife, we're not in Georgia, we're in New York. Jeff is here. And why do I bring that up? I bring that up because it seems like writing stories is more important than the truth. And somehow reporters think it's okay to call Jeff a sexual predator. Nothing is further from the truth. He has never hurt or harmed anyone in his life. And that Tabitha Foster case had no legal merit, and although it took 6 years, was completely dismissed. And that's the only other legal action involving allegations of any type of sexual conduct. The outpouring of support from the community has been overwhelming, the communities he used to serve. Yet others are deciding to pour onto the false allegations. There's a Captain Gabrielle Walls who's been suing the New York Police Department for some months now. She's a captain. And she decided, and in her filings prior to current, never mentioned a single word about Chief Maddrey. But she recently amended her complaint, and her attorney said, we're adding Chief Maddrey and former Commissioner Caban to get attention. And now she believes she can call him a sexual predator. We don't think.
All right, so that's a whole nother situation. If y'all want to see this full video, it's called NYPD Former Chief Denies Sexual Allegations. And it's from Live Now Fox. But clearly, they were doing something together at one point in time. You know, and this is why people say don't lay with your coworkers, don't sleep with your coworkers, keep it professional, because this will always come back and bite you in the behind. If anybody ever thinks that he was actually giving her overtime or doing her favors because they were sleeping together, they got a good right to think that way, because he probably was at the time when they were doing their thing, looking out for her, giving her favors, doing this for her. But he's denying any misconduct, any sexual accusations. He's denying it. And he's standing firm up there with his lawyer, not backing down. And I get it. And I at this point in time, I kind of believe him. But we're going to let it play out. We're going to see what the court says, and we're going to see what the investigation comes to. From what they're saying, from the facts that the lawyer just brought, it's looking real slow for this woman. She was abusing some power, it looks like, and it is catching up to her now. I'm here wondering, like, why is she retiring? She's getting paid this much. Why is she retired so quickly? This is making sense. It's all adding up. It's all coming together. NYPD is corrupt regardless, but this is messed up. This is messed up for real. Let me know y'all thoughts about this down in the comments below. I'd really like to know y'all thoughts. Thank you guys for tuning in to another video. Make sure you guys leave that like, hit that subscribe button if y'all are new, man. It's your boy Dgotsauce, man. Hit that comment section. Until next time, peace.